Okay, tile mapping in DSprite. So just to say how I'm set up here, I've got a new document. I'm using the Deluxe Paint standard palette because it's a palette I'm very familiar with in indexed mode, and we'll explain why in a bit. And we're going to talk about how we make tile maps and how we use them. So the first thing we want to do is create a new tile map layer, and we can do that with new tile map layer. Now what I'm going to do is a really tiny tile set for basic sort of platformer tiles. Okay, so we'll move to our tile map layer, and the tile map layers have this T here for tile mode, and as you can see we have no tiles, and we've got P for pixel mode, and that allows us to draw our tiles in place on the tile map. Now we're going to want, for now, 6 tiles, and then we can use those to create some things, and we'll show you how it works. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles. I've just dotted them there, and you'll see that we now have 6 tiles. That's the first one. In fact, if I press the control key, it'll tell you which one's which. So pressing control in tile map mode on a tile map layer will show you which of the tiles is currently on the canvas. And the cool thing is that we can edit these tiles in place then. So if I select some color, let's do this brownish orange, and let's get a filled rectangle and just make this tile a filled rectangle. And then, I don't know, let's go for a Sonic-ish vibe for these platformer tiles, and do some diamonds, and we'll fill that up. Okay, so now that tile looks like that. The next tile then, let's make it the right edge, and we will grab this one and just copy it over here, and we can make the right edge very simply just let's have a very dark color there and make that the right edge, and let's use a lighter orange there like that. So now that's the edge. And then let's do the same for this guy. And we have that dark color there. Go like that. And then this guy. Let's go like that. Cool. And then we're going to want the top. So let's grab this guy, pop it on here, and then I don't know, some grassy dark color. We've got a dark green here, and a lighter green as you know the next bit down. And let's do some Sonic-y style grass bits. I mean, this isn't going to be the world's best tile set. It's just to demonstrate what we're operating with here. Yeah, something like that. Okay, and then we're going to want an edge for the grass, and we can just grab these two and then add the grass to them. And we can grab this, you know, pencil, let's take some off. Yep, and let's do something like that. And then let's grab this much let's grab this much for here. There we go. And then the same in the opposite direction for the other side. let's go like that. And let's just make it look a bit more like that. There we go. So now we've got some edges. If we go back to tile mode, you see that we now have a bunch of tiles, and you know they're somewhat weirdly aligned, and we've got these dots are still here because we used copy and paste rather than drawing directly on the tile. So if I clean this up, we've got a compact tile set, and that now compacts the tile set, which, you know, gives us just the tiles that are currently on the canvas. If those dots were still on the canvas, then they would have stayed in the tile set, but now we have a tile set. So we can draw with them. If we're in tiled mode, which we are, you can see that the tile is selected, is that one, and we could, you know, we can go like this, do all sorts really. And what we could do is we can get this guy here and we can go like that, look. We can do the same at the top here, like this. And we can put these guys at the edges. We can go like this. It just makes sort of making levels particularly easy. We can also, this is kind of cool, we can select a bunch of tiles. Now obviously you can copy and paste, but you can also Control B, which makes a tile brush. So you can stamp it as many times as you like. So let's say if I were to, well, let's make this smaller, right? Let's make this as small. I've just moved them there, you see. And then I would do this. I can go Control B, and then I could go, oh well, I want that there, and I want another one there, and let's say I want another one here. And I can also sort of grab this and just, oh, I can Control C and V as well. Look, we can do that. That'll do that. Let's just copy and paste. But the brush is particularly useful for just being able to stamp things around that you want. So now we've got that. That's pretty simple, right? And we can hit Control, and you can see that the number of the tiles that is being used, you know, they're there. There's a number of other weird things we can do, right? So if I were to say want something weird hanging in the sky, I can use this tile, say like that. And let's say I wanted to have a strange platform. I can do this and this. And you think, well, what about the bottom? Well, what we can do is, using the space bar, we can do space X and it will flip it in the X direction. That's not much use here. We can do space Y, flip it in the Y direction, and now we've got it flips in the Y direction, and we can do the same for this guy, space Y, and we can do the same for this guy, space Y, and now we've got a weird grass on the bottom platform. That's it's a bit strange, but you know, it is what it is, and we can use it for all sorts of things. If I press Control now, you'll see that the ones that are flipped in the Y direction have got a Y on them, just to let you know that they are in fact still tiles 6 and 4 and 5 there, but flipped in the Y direction. Let's do something fun then. I'm going to set my foreground color here to this guy, and my background color here to this guy probably. Let's see. Yeah, let's go for that guy. Right. So now I've got this gradient set, and let's go back to pixel mode, and let's draw a little box, and then I can use my gradient tool, and I've got the light color selected as the foreground and the dark color selected as the background, and I want it to be light at the bottom, dark at the top, so I will go like that. And let's do some sort of clicking around here. Let's grab this middle one and drop it right down. Let's get this guy and move him right down as well. This guy. Oh, that's fine too, actually. Let's just make it a bit random. It doesn't have to be particularly not random. Let's move that back up to the top. So now we've got a complete tile. Let's move that up to there. And now we've got a tile in our tile set. I mean, it would have stayed there I just wanted it out of the way. And now we've got a bunch of tiles that we don't need, because at every step of adding bits and moving stuff onto the other tiles, it created other tiles, but we can clean those up. You've seen that before. Compact tile set. Now we just get the one that we wanted. Now I'm going to make a copy of this, so I'm going to go back into pixel mode. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to sort of negate the top a bit. Oh, I had the wrong colour in my... I needed the background colour. Oh, speaking of which, you can see through this here, but we're in index mode. So in index mode, you have a transparent colour, a transparent pixel, well, a palette index rather. And in this case, it's this 255, 0 to 255 palette. This is index 255. That's the transparent one. And use middle click, and well, the mouse wheel click, and that will turn on and off, having a transparent index. So when it's off, there is no transparent index. You can't see through that layer. So when you turn it on, you can. That's essentially that. Anyway, if I use the transparent index on my background color, then I can just draw that to delete pixels essentially, and the eraser does pretty much exactly the same thing in indexed mode. It just uses the transparent pixel. Alright, and let's draw a line across there. That's going to be the top of, as you can see, my water tiles. Now, water moves, and we're in indexed mode, and I said that I'd explain why we'd be in index mode in a minute. And the reason we're in index mode is because in indexed mode we can do something that Deluxe Paint used to do and many tools no longer do, and that is to use some palette cycling to do some animation. So if I add the colours that we used there, and you can see it was this set of colours down to here, I believe, and we can set that as a cycling range, and press OK, and we can turn on, so we can do it here, cycle colours, and that's going up, so we'll want to reverse that, and the tab button also turns on and off cycle colours. Now let's go and reverse this. That's not the way we want it to go. So colours, cycle settings, edit, and just put it in reverse. And then that, cool. Right, so let's go back to tile map mode, and we can see we've got our two tiles there, and you can see that it's cycling in on my cursor. But cool, so we've got that one, and we can do this. And then we can use this one to put the top on. That, I think, is pretty cool. Right, so let's stop that cycling. You can have multiple tile layers, and a tile map can use different tile sets. At the moment we only have tile set 0, which belongs to this tile map. We can change the name. Let's call it Sonic-ish, if I could type. And that's the Sonic-ish tile map. And some of you will have noticed that I have a tab here open called Mario-ish tiles. It's just a PNG with some other tiles. And what I can do is I can import those. And if I were to do that, import tile set just off the picture menu, and get these Mario-ish tiles. And if I were to say don't create a new tile map layer, it will just create the tile map. And now we can choose between them. You see, Sonic-ish tiles, Mario-ish tiles, and because the water uses the same, as you can see here, cycling part of the palette, well, it does that too. And you can see they're the same indexes, right? So the tile maps were, and I will say, predetermined to be aligned so that these tiles would match the tiles in the other tile map. And that's pretty cool, I think. Anyway, what else do we need to know about tile sets? So one of the other cool things, of course, is I explained that we can edit in place. So if I change this back to pixel mode, we could do something like, I don't know, draw a smiley face on this guy. It's not only a good one again. And now all of the instances of that guy have got a smiley face. Now that's not a particularly good use, but we could do something that you might actually want to do, like perhaps add some three-dimensionality. I've used the wrong tool there. Add some three-dimensionality to this guy. What colour is that? We want the one that's just less. Alright. Or do we want it to... No, that's fine. Darker is... yeah. Okay. So then we can go like that. And then, as you see, we've added just a little bit of three-dimensionality. And we can do that to all of them so that they match. This colour and do the rest of them. And then you can see that it's updated in place. Everything looks a little bit cooler. You know, we could also add, I don't know, some shadow. We could also add some shadow under the grass. And that too might look a bit cooler. Yeah. So once you've made your tiles and you've made some layouts, you can edit them in place. Another thing that we can do, if you want some special tiles, you can copy and paste and make new tiles. But if you traverse two tiles that are the same with any of the painting tools, then it will create two brand new tiles in place. So if I say wanted to have a hole in the middle of, say, a 4-tile block, and this is going to break the relationship with that other tile map, of course, because they don't exist in that tile map. But let's say I wanted to have a black hole in here. I could do that, and now you'll see that we have these 4 guys here, which is a brand new set of tiles. And you know, rather than having to stamp them out individually, again, we can create a brush and we could Control B those, and now we have these guys on our brush and put them wherever we want. Again, this breaks the relationship with this tile map because they don't exist there. As you can see, what's on my brush is 4 non-existent tiles and the 2 tiles that were at the top. Anyway, I think that about covers what we can do with the tile mapper in DSprite. Thanks for watching.